Chapter 8. The Deathday Party. October arrived, spreading a damp chill over the ground, and into the castle. Madame Pomfrey, the nurse, was kept busy by a sudden spate of cold among the staff and students. Her paper potion worked instantly through it, left the drinker smoking at the ears for several hours afterward. Ginny Weasley, who had been looking pale, was bullied into taking some by Percy. The steam pouring from under her vivid hair gave the impression that her whole head was on fire. Raindrops the size of bullets thundered on the castle window for days on end. The lake rose, the flowers bed turned into muddy streams, and Hagrid pumpkins swelled to the size of garden sheds. Oliver Wood enthusiasm for regular training session, however, was not damped, which was why Harry was to be found late one stormy Saturday afternoon a few days before Halloween. Returning to Gryffindor Tower, drenched into the skin and splattered with mud. Even aside from the rain and wind, it hadn't been a happy practice session. Fred and George, who had been spying on the Slytherin's team, had seen for themselves the spread of those new Nimbus 2001. They reported that the Slytherin team was no more than 7 greenish blurs shooting through the air like missile as Harry squished along the desert corridor, but he came across somebody who looked just as preoccupied as he was. Nearly headless Nick, the ghost of Gryffindor's tower, was staring morosely out of the window, muttering under his breath, "Don't fulfill their requirements, half an inch, if that." "Hello, Nick," said Harry. "Hello, hello," said nearly headless Nick, staring at looking around. He wore a dashing plumed hat on his long curly hairs and a tunic which which concealed the fact that his neck was almost completely severed. He was pale as smoke, and Harry could see right through him to the dark sky and tutorial rain outside. "You took trouble, young Potter," said Nick, folding a transparent letter as he spoke and tucking it inside his doublet. "So do you," said Harry. "Ah, nearly headless Nick afterward, an elegant a matter on no importance. It's not as though I really wanted to join, but I had applied, but apparently I don't fulfill requirements." In spite of his airy tone, there was a look of great bitterness on his face. "You would think, would you?" he erupted suddenly, pulling the letter back out of his pocket, "that getting hit 45 times in the neck with a blunt axe would qualify to join the headless hunt." "Oh, yes," said Harry, who was obviously supposed to agree. "I mean, nobody wished more than I do." I had all been quick and clean, and my head had come up properly. I mean, it would have saved me a great deal of pain and ridicule. However, nearly headless Nick shook his letter open and read furiously. "We can only accept man whose head have parted company with their bodies. You will appreciate that it would be impossible otherwise for members to participate in hunt activities such as horseback, head juggling, and head polo. Is with the greatest regret therefore that I must inform you that you do not fulfill our requirements. With very best wishes, Sir Patrick Denny Podmore." Becoming nearly headless, Nick stuffed the letter away, half an inch of skin and snout holding my neck on. "Harry, most people would think that's good and beheaded, but oh no, it's not enough for Sir properly decapitated Podmore." Nearly headless Nick took several deep breaths and then said in a far calmer tone, "So what's bothering you? Anything I can do?" "No," said Harry, "not useless. You know where we can get 7 free Nimbus 2000 and one for one match against Life." The rest of Harry's sentence was drowned out by a high-pitched meowing from somewhere here near his ankle. He looked down and found himself gazing into a pair of lamp-like yellow eyes. He was Mrs. Norris, the skittle grey cat who was used by the caretaker Argus Fleet as a top deputy in his endless battle against students. You had better get out of here, Harry, said Nick quickly. Fish isn't in a good mood. He's got the flu, and some third year accidentally plastered frog brain all over the ceiling in Dungan 5. He's been cleaning all morning, and if he see you dripping mud all over the place, right, said Harry, backing away from the accusing stares of Mrs. Norris, but not quickly enough, drawn to the spot by the mysterious power that seemed to connect him with his foul cat. Argus Fleet burst suddenly through a tapestry to Harry's right, whizzing and looking wildly about for the rule breaker. There was a thick tartan scarf wound around his head, and his nose was unusually purple. Fleet! He shouted, his jowls acquired, his eyes popping angrily as he pointed at the muddy puddle that had dripped from Harry's quick throw. Mess and muck everywhere. I have had enough of it. I tell you, follow me, Potter. So Harry waved a gloomy goodbye to nearly headless Nick and followed Fleet back downstairs, doubling the number of muddy footprints on the floor. Harry had never been inside Fleet's office before. It was a place most students avoided. The room was dingy and windowless, lit by a single oil lamp dangling from the low ceiling. A faint smell of fried fish lingered about the place. Wooden filling cabinets stood around the wall. From their labels, Harry could see that they contained details of every pupil's Fleet had ever finished. Fred and George Wesley had an entire drawer all to themselves, a highly punished collection of chains and manacles hung on the wall behind Fleet. Yes, it was common knowledge that he was always begging Dumbledore to let him suspend students by their ankles from the ceiling. Fleet grabbed a quill from a pot on his desk and began sputtering around looking for parchment. He muttered furiously, great sizzling dragon body, frog brain, rat intestine, I have had enough of it. Make an example, where is the form? Yes, he retrieved the large roll of parchment from the desk drawer and stretched it out in front of him, dipping his long back quill into the pink pot, and Harry Potter cried. It was only a bit of mud, said Harry. It's only a bit of mud to you, boy, but to me it's an extra hard scrubbing, shouted Fleet, a drip shivering unpleasantly at the end of his bulbous nose. Crime. Befalling the castle, suggested sentence, dabbing at his streaming nose, Fleet squinted pleasantly at Harry, who waited with bated breath for his sentence to fall. But as Fleet lowered his quill, there was a great bang on the ceiling of the office, which made the oil lamp clatter. Fuse, Fleet roared, flinging down his quill in transport of rage. I have you this time. I'll have you. And without a backward glance at Harry, Fleet ran flat-footed from the office, Mrs. Norris streaking alongside him. Hughes was the school portraitist, a grinning earbone menace who lived to cause havoc and distress. Harry didn't much like Pius, but couldn't help feeling grateful for his timing hopefully. However, Pius had done, and it sounded as though he had recalled something very big this time, would discharge Fleet from Harry. Thinking that he should probably wait for Fleet to come back, Harry sank into a moth-eaten chair next to the desk. There was only one thing on it apart from his half-complete form, a large glossy purple envelope with silver lettering on the form. With a quick glance at the door to check that Fleet wasn't on his way back, Harry picked up envelope and read. Quick spell. A correspondence course in the beginner's magic. Intrigue. Harry flicked the envelope open and pulled out the strip of parchment inside. Purely silver writing on the front page said, Feel out of step in the world of modern magic. Find yourself making excuse not perform simple spell. Ever been found dead for you have full hard work? This is an answer. Quickspell is an all-new fail-safe quick sell result, easy learned course. Hundreds of witches and wizards have benefited from the Quickspell method. Madam Zenefte of Jospam writes, I had no memory for inaction and my potion were a family joke. Now after a quick spell course, I am an center of attention at parties and friends beg for the receipt of my scintillation solution. Warlock DG Pro of Disbury says, my wife used to sneer at my feeble charm, but 1 month into your fabulous quick spell course, and I successfully in turning her into yak thank you quick spell. Fascinating. Harry thumbed through the rest of the envelope counted. Why on earth did Fletch want a quick spell course? Did this mean he wasn't proper wizard? Harry was just reading lessons 1. Holding your wand, some useful tips when suffering footstep outside told him Fletch was coming back. Putting parchment back into the envelope, Harry threw it back onto the desk just as the door opened. Fletch was looking triumphant. That vanishing cabinet was extremely valuable. He was saying grateful to Mrs. Norris, well I have pews out this time, my sweet. Eyes fell on Harry and then darted to the Quickswell envelope, which Harry realized too late was lying 2 feet away from where it had started. His pasty face went brick red. Harry braced himself for a tidal wave of fury. Fletch hopped across to his desk, snatched up the envelope, and threw it into a drawer. Have you? Did you read? He sputtered. No, Harry lied quickly. Fletch's noble hands were twisting together. I thought you had read my private, not that it's mine, for a friend. Be that as it may, however. Harry was staring at him, alarmed. Fletch had never looked madder. His eyes were popping, a tick was going in one of his pouchy cheek, and the tartan scarf didn't help. Okay, well, go and don't breathe a word. Not that. However, if you didn't read, go now. I have write up Pew's report. Go. Amazed as his luck, Harry sped out of his office, up the corridor, and back upstairs to escape from Fletch's office without punishment. It was probably some kind of school record. Hurry, Harry, did it work? Nearly headless Nick came gliding out of the classroom behind him. Harry could see the wreck of the large black and gold cabinet that appeared to have been dropped from the great height. I persuaded Pius to crash it right over Fletch's office, said Nick eagerly. Thought it might distract him. Was that you? Said Harry gratefully. Yeah, it worked. I didn't even get detention, thanks Nick. They set off up the corridor together. Nearly headless Nick, Harry noticed, was still holding Sir Patrick's rejection letter. I wish there was something I could do for you about the headless hunt, Harry. Nearly headless Nick stopped in his tracks and Harry walked right through him. He wished he didn't. It was like stepping through an icy shower. But there is something you could do for me, said Nick excitedly. Harry, would I be asking too much? But no, you wouldn't want. What is that? Said Harry. Well, this Halloween will be my 500th birthday, said nearly headless Nick, drawing himself up and looking dignified. Oh, said Harry, not sure whether he should look sorry or happy about this, right? I'm holding a party down in the one of the Romeo Deegan's friends will be coming from all over the country. It will be such an honor if you would attend. Mr. Weasley and Mrs. Granger will be most welcome too, of course, but I dare say you had rather go to school feast. He watched Harry on tenterhooks. No, said Harry quickly. I'll come. My dear boy, Harry Potter at my Deathday party, and he hesitated, looking excited. Do you think you could possibly mention to Sir Patrick how very frightened and impressive you find me. Of course, said Harry, nearly headless Nick beamed at him. A death day party, said Hermione nearly when Harry had changed at last and joined her and Ron in the common room. I bet there aren't many people who can say there have been to one of those. It will be fascinating. Why would anyone want to celebrate the day they died? Said Ron, who was halfway through his potion homework and grumpy sounded head distressing to me. Rain was still lashing with the window, which were now inky black. Inside all looked bright and cheerful. The firelight glowed over the countless scratchy armchairs where people sat reading, talking, doing homework on. In the case of Fred and George Weasley, trying to find out what would happen if you fed a filibuster firework to a salamander, Fred and rescue the brilliant orange fire-dwelling lizard from the car of magical creature class, and it was now smoldering gently on the table surrounded by the not and curious people. Harry was at the point of telling Ron and Hermione about Fletch and the quick-spell course when his salamander suddenly whizzed into the air, emitting loud spark and bang as it whirled wildly around the room. The sight of Percy billowing himself hoarse and Fred and George, a spectacular display of tangerine stars showering from the cylinder's mouth, and it escaped into the fire. With accompanying explosion, drove both Fletch and the quick-spill envelope from Harry's mind. By the time Halloween arrived, Harry was regretting his rash promise to go to the birthday party. The rest of the school was happily anticipating their Halloween feast. The great hall had been decorated with the usual live bats. Hagrid's vast pumpkin had been carved into lantern large enough for three men to sit in, and there were rumors that children had thought of dancing. A promise is a promise, Hermione reminded Harry Basilis, who you said you had go to Deathday party. So, at 7 o'clock, Harry, Ron and Hermione walked straight past the doorway to the packed great hall, which was glittering invitedly with gold plates and candles, and directly there stepped inside towards the dungeons. The passageway leading to nearly headless Nick's party had been lined with candles too, though the effect was far from cheerful. These were long, thin, jet black tapers, all burning bright blue, casting a dim, ghostly light even over their own life faces. Temperature dropped with every step they took. As Harry shivered and drew his robe tighten around him, he heard what sounded like 1,000 fingernails scraping an enormous black blow. Is that supposed to be music? Ron whispered. They turned a corner and saw nearly headless Nick standing at a doorway hung with a black velvet wrap. My dear friends, he said mournfully, welcome, welcome. Please you could he come? He stripped off his plumed hat and bowed them inside. It was an incredible sight. The Dagon was full of hundreds of purely white, translucent people, mostly drifting around a crowded dance floor, waltzing to the dreadful quavering sound of 30 musical saws played by an orchestra on a raised, black-draped platform. A chandelier overhead blazed midnight blue with 1,000 more black candles. Their breath rose in a mist before them. It was like stepping into a freezer. Shall we have a look around? Harry suggested, wanting to wrap up his feet. Careful not to walk through anyone, said Ron nervously, and they set off around the edge of the dance floor. They passed a group of gloomy nuns, a red man wearing chains, and a flat bearer, a cheerful Hufflepuff ghost, who was talking to a knight with arrows sticking out of his forehead. Harry wasn't surprised to see that bloody baron around Spanish Slytherin's ghost covered in silver blood-stain was being given a white braid by the other ghost. No, no, said Harmony, stopping abruptly. Turn back, turn back. I don't want to talk to Morning Myrtle. Who? Said Harry as they backtracked quickly. She haunted one of the toilet in the girls' bathroom on the first floor, said Hermione. She haunted a toilet? Yes, it's been out of order all years because she kept having tantrums and flooding the place. I never went in there anyway if I could avoid it. It's awful trying to have a pee with her wailing at you. Look, food, said Ron. On the other side of the dragon was a long table, also covered in a black velvet. They approached it eagerly, but next moment had stopped in their track, horrified. The smell was quite disgusting, as rotten fish were laid on handsome silver platters. Pig burnt charcoal black were heaped on slabs. There was a great maggoty haggis, a slab of cheese covered in a furry green mold, and in pride of place, an enormous grey cake in the shape of tombstone with trail-like icing forming the word Saint Nicholas de Mims Porphyron died 31st October 1492. Harry was amazed as portly ghost approached the table, crouched low and walked through it, his mouth held wide so and it passed through one of the streaking salmon. Can you taste it if you walk through it? Harry asked him. Almost, said the ghost sadly, and he drifted away. I expect that I have let it rot to give it a stronger flavor, said Hermione knowledgeably, pinching her nose and leaning closer to look at the puttering huggies. Can we move? I feel sick, said Ron. They had barely turned around, however, when a little man swept suddenly from under the table and came to a halt in a mid-air before them. Hello, Peeves, said Harry cautiously. Unlike the ghost around them, Peeves and Poltergeist was the very reserved and pale and transparent. He was wearing a bright orange party hat, a revolving bow tie, and a broad grin on his wide, vacant neck. Nibbles, he said sweetly, offering them a bowl of peas covered in fungus. No thanks, said Harmony. What are you talking about, poor Myrtle? Said Pius, his eyes dancing rude. You was about poor Myrtle. He took a deep breath and bellowed, Oh, Myrtle. Oh no, Pius, don't tell her what I said. She'll be really upset. Hermione whispered frantically. I didn't mean it. I don't mind her. Hello, Myrtle. The square ghost of girl had glidden over. She had a glummest face Harry had ever seen, half hidden behind lank hair and thick pearly spectacles. What? She said sulkily. Who are you, Myrtle? Said Harmony in fabulously bright voice. It's nice to see you out of the toilet, Myrtle sniffed. Miss Granger was just talking about you, said Pius slyly in Myrtle's ear. Just saying how nice you look tonight, said Hermione glaring at Pius. Myrtle eyed Hermione suspiciously. Making fun of me, she said, silver tear welling rapidly in her small see-through eyes. Oh, honestly, didn't I just say you how nice Myrtle looking? Said Hermione nugging Harry and Ron painfully in the ribs. Oh yeah, she said. Don't lie to me, Myrtle gasped, tears now flooding down her face, while Pius chuckled happily over her shoulder. Do you think I don't know what people call me behind my back? Fat Myrtle, ugly Myrtle, miserable moaning, moping Myrtle. You have forgotten pimply Pius hissed in her ear. Mourning Myrtle burst into anguished sob and fled from the Dagon. Pius shot after her, pelting her with moldy peanut, yelling, Pimply, Pimply. Oh dear, said Hermione sadly, Nearly headless Nick now drifted towards them through the crowd. Enjoying yourself? Oh yes, they lied. Not a bad turnout, said nearly headless Nick proudly. The welling window came all the way up from it. It's nearly time to my speech. I had better go and warn the orchestra. The orchestra, however, stopped playing at that very moment. They had everyone else in the Dagon fell silent, looking around and in excitement as a hunting horn sounded. Oh, here we go, said nearly headless Nick bitterly. Through the Dagon wall burst a dozen ghost horses, each ride by a headless horseman. The assembly clapped wildly. Harry started to clap too, but stopped quickly at the sight of Nick's face. The horse galloped into the middle of the dance floor and halted, rearing and plugging. At the front of the pack was a large ghost who held his beard hard under his arm, from which position he was blowing the horn. The ghost leapt down, lifted his head high in the air so he could see over the crowd. Everyone laughed. Sid strode over nearly headless Nick, squashing his head back into his neck. Nick, he roared. How are you? Head still hanging in there. We gave a hearty guffaw and clapped nearly headless Nick on the shoulder. Welcome, Patrick, said Nick stiffly. Live uns, said Sir Patrick, spotting Harry, Ron, and Hermione and giving a huge fake jump on astronomers so that his head fell off again. The crowd howled with laughter. Very amusing, said nearly headless Nick darkly. Don't mind Nick, shouted Sir Patrick's head from the floor. Still upset we won't let him join the hunt. But I mean to say, look at Philo. I think, said Harry hurriedly, at the meaningful look from Nick. Nick very frantically and yelled Sir Patrick said, bet he asked you to say that. If I could have everyone's attention, it's time for my speech, said nearly headless Nick loudly, striding towards the podium and climbing into a icy blue spotlight. My late laymen, lord, ladies, and gentlemen, it is my greatest sorrow, but nobody heard much more. Sir Patrick and the rest of the headless hunt had just started a game of head hockey, and the crowd were turning to watch nearly headless try to vanilla to recapture his audience but gave up. Sir Patrick said when sailing past him to loud cheer. Harry was very cold by now, not to mention hungry. I can't stand much more of this. Ron muttered, his teeth chattering as the orchestra ground back into action and the ghosts went back into dance floor. Let's go, Harry agreed. They backed toward the door, nodded and beaming at anyone who looked at them. At a minute later, we are hurrying back to Passway full of black candles. Pudding might not be finished yet, said Ron hopefully, leading the way towards the step to the entrance hall. And then Harry heard, Rip, Peer, Kill. It was the same voice, the same cold, murderous voice he had heard Lockhart's office. He stumbled to a halt, clutching at the stone wall, listening with all his might, looking around, squinting up and down the dimly lighted passageway. Harry, where are you? It's that voice again. Shut up a minute. So hungry for so long. Listen, said Harry urgently, and Ron and Hermione froze watching him. Kill time to kill. The voice was growing fainter. Harry was sure it was moving away, moving upward. A mixture of fear and excitement gripping him as he stared at a dark ceiling. How could he be moving upward? Was it a phantom to whom stone ceiling didn't matter? This way, he shouted, and he began to run up the stairs into the entrance hall. It was no good hoping to hear anything else. The devil of work from Halloween feast was encroaching out of the hall. Harry sprinted up the marble staircase to the first floor, Ron and Hermione clattering behind him.